1? Did you look up verse 1? Oh my gosh, it was a lot harder. You're welcome. It was a lot of, you think Annas and Caiaphas were hard. There's a whole bunch of words in there. I redid the sermon this morning because something just got on my mind. Who knows what happened to me yesterday morning? What happened?
You got pulled over.
Yeah, Tinkerbell knows I got pulled over by a police officer. How many of you have never in your life done a California stop? No, yeah, exactly. So we're all in this together. We've all run through a stop sign and drove through a stop sign. But Officer Troy was really nice, and I was kind of inspired this morning to throw out one sermon and do another about mercy or peace or something. The first time I was ever in a car that got pulled over, I was about 6 years old, and my mother was driving, obviously, because if my father was driving, I was on his lap and doing this thing at 6. But my mother was driving at about 6 years old, and she got pulled over, and I'm in the back seat, and she's like, "Sit there and shut up." You know, that's what moms would do when they're nervous. And so, and you know little kids, when they go to the mall, and they're like, are you Santa Claus? Well, the police officer comes up to the front, license and registration, ma'am. And I said, "Are you Roscoe P. Coltrane?" Because to me, it looked like Roscoe P. Coltrane from the Dukes of Hazzard. And I don't know if she got a ticket or not. My mother was not amused. But I watched a lot of Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid. I watched a little bit of it more. And if you don't like the Dukes of Hazzard, I just don't understand you. I don't really understand what's going on in your head. But the Duke boys, if you're not familiar, they were cousins, not brothers. Let's just get that established. They were always out to try to right a wrong. That was their job on the show. They were going to go fix things that were broken, fix a problem, stop a bad guy. Most of all, they worked their whole lives to fight against the oppressive regime of Boss Hogg. See, Cinda? See why your jacket with the boss lady on the back? Mostly, they went out to fight Boss Hogg. Now, Boss Hogg's mother couldn't even love her own son. I mean, you had to be against him. You had to be with the Dukes. There was no room to be on Boss Hogg's side. He was the epitome of evil in that drama, always stealing from the poor, always scheming on the edge of the law, usually over the edge of the law, to get more control, to get more power. In the show, he was just a county commissioner. He wasn't a big king, but he was the king in that region. Boss Hogg was in charge, except when the Duke boys were out there under the watchful and wise eyes of Uncle Jesse. They always seemed to be able to thwart his plans and restore peace to Hazzard County. Oh, I love that show. Remember how it started? Just good old boys, never doing no harm. Beats all you ever saw, been in trouble with the law since the day you were born. And then what's the next line? Straightening the curves, flattening the hills. Someday the mountain might get them, but the law never will. I can do that for you on karaoke if you want, Jim. But does anything sound familiar in there? Waylon Jennings described these holy outlaws in any ways that might have sounded familiar to what Fran just read. How was it that Bo and Luke fought for peace against Boss Hogg? They straightened the curves. They flattened the hills. How did Isaiah and Luke describe the fight for peace and against King Herod, the Boss Hogg of their day? Straightening the curves, flattening the hills. How did these outlaw cousins, John the Baptist and Jesus, actually fight for peace under the watchful and wise eyes of Uncle God? Every valley shall be filled and the mountain made low. The crooked shall be made straight and the rough ways made smooth. There's something in this metaphor. If a metaphor can go from Dukes of Hazzard to Christmas, there's something in it. Something about when the Boss Hoggs of our own lives, they start working on us and pushing on us and scheming on us. And peace, sometimes we want peace to be that straightening out the diagnosis. We were diagnosed one way, we want peace to be straightening out that and say we're healthy. Sometimes peace is straightening out our anxiety. Sometimes peace in our hearts is about taking that addiction that is just twisting us up inside and somehow finding calm through that. Sometimes peace is about turning around the arguments and the anger in your family, especially in a holiday season. Sometimes peace is about finding safety when we know things are unsafe. Maybe peace in our lives is about forgiving the ones who have hurt us or asking for forgiveness, sometimes even harder. Maybe peace is following this outlaw idea so crazy in our lives that it just can't be true, of silencing that voice in our head that continues to say the same worn out and broken message about ourselves, that we aren't worth it, And maybe peace is remembering that God counts us as loved, as masterpieces. There's something in this metaphor to make peace inside and outside in the world. Because the boss hogs are not just fictional characters. Boss hogs are real. Flattening the Hills is about ensuring that everyone has enough in the world. Enough to eat, enough clean water, enough to drink clean water, enough access to housing and health care. Flattening the Hills is about no one is able to steal and scheme in this world. Straightening the Curves is about this transparency. Nothing's hiding around the corner. Shining light on all the broken parts of the world so no violence can go unnoticed. So the victims can feel peace from redemption. John the Baptist, this voice in the wilderness, crying to prepare the way for the Lord. John literally fought the boss hog of his day. Did he win? Does anyone know? What happened to John? What happened to John? Lost his head. Literally lost his head. He complained about Herod's sexual indiscretions. He complained about Herod's extravagance and simultaneous disdain for the poor. He complained about Herod's hubris and immorality, which just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. The more that the Jewish leaders at the time just decided to curry favor with him, which of course led to other Jewish people at the time just tolerating and justifying evil so that they could hold on to their own broken ideas about the world, which sometimes sounds familiar with boss hogs today. But John lost his head, standing up to rampant injustice so that the oppressed could be free and live in peace. His cousin, his younger cousin Jesus, who some of us think of as so pious and peaceful and quiet. How many of you grew up with a church where there was a Jesus picture on the wall where he's just looking up into the sky, so happy? What happened to Jesus? Didn't get his head cut off, but got hung on that thing. For fighting the boss hogs of his day, the literal ones, but more so the figurative boss hogs. More so for fighting the systems of power that infect our ideas about ourselves and about the world. Now there's a difference between Bo and Luke and Jesus and John. Duh, right? There's a difference between the two of them. About 15 years ago, I was a younger man and did dumb decisions. And so in one of those dumb decisions, the idea was great, but the play-out was terrible. My roommates and I decided to throw a party for Uncle Jesse's 90th birthday. We wanted to have a Dukes of Hazzard party, right? And so I dressed up as Cooter, and my roommate dressed up as Boss Hog, and so was Roscoe, and all these great things. And we thought this was a great idea because all the women had to dress up like
Ellen May!
Well, Daisy Duke would be what we thought at the time. But the women, as usual, were smarter than us because they all showed up in an orange t-shirt. And they were General Lee instead of Daisy Duke. So they're like, oh, shoot, you know? See, in the show, for all the strength of Daisy's character, and really, like in that time, this is 40 years ago, the show, there weren't a lot of strong female characters on television, but she was strong. However, she's known for one thing. What's she known for?
Daisy Dukes.
Daisy Dukes. Little short. Her whole name has become a trope on hypersexualization of women. When she was directly exploited in the show, and if you go back and watch it, sometimes while she's a waitress, somebody goes and gives her a goose, and those Duke boys always stand up for her, right? Always stand up for women when they're directly exploited. Yes? And yet that show does something to exploit all women. I mean, most of you would absolutely stand for Daisy's peace, and all the Daisies in our lives, peace when they're right there. But we also live in a world, and we take part in a world that continually is shaped to exploit the Daisies in our life. We live in a world where exploitation is just part of every commercial that comes on. We live in a world where women grow up thinking that their primary value is sexuality. We live in a world where Daisies are assaulted, and the question is, well, what kind of shorts were they wearing? Did they ask for it? We live in a world where people make excuses to hold on to a world they know, so that Daisy can be Daisy. And this is why we don't need more Bo and Luke, we need more Jesus, to straighten the curves of our own hypocritical thinking, to fight against that essence of boss hog that's in the air. In the show, the most popular character, not Bo, not Luke, not Daisy, not Jesse, not Boss, not Roscoe, the most popular character in the show is General Lee. General Lee, that name itself, the symbol. You got good guys, Bo and Luke, and yet they're driving a car with this symbol on the top of it, which is unmistakably racist and oppressive. That's the good guys. What happened? That's the good guys. They're fighting Boss Hogg, who's supposed to be the bad guy. Does anyone know what Boss Hogg's real name is in the show? Not Boss. His name is J.D. Hogg. Anyone know what J.D. stands for?
John Dirk.
Jefferson Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Hogg. That's his name in the show. So you have two characters under a flag of evil and abuse, fighting a character whose name is for abuse and evil. Which shows me that sometimes even the best peacemakers in our lives can be blind to the hurt that they cause. That sometimes the best peacemakers, those who fight even for peace for others, end up hurting people. Sometimes our job is to keep looking past the peace that we know to God's peace, to a world we can't even yet recognize. John did that by baptizing people into a repentance. John the Baptist would come and remind people who were already religious, who were already supposed to be on the right path, and he would say, okay, let's do this thing where I'm going to wash you and remind you that, yeah, sometimes I don't get it all right. Sometimes my straight line to God gets a little twisty. Sometimes my upward path to being the most holy person I can be sometimes takes a dip. And John says, I might be working for peace, but I so often get caught up in junk. I might be climbing a hill toward a promised land, but sometimes when I get up there, I put more stones on the top to make it harder for others to climb. So we are called to follow John and to cultivate in our souls an awareness of a world that can be more peaceful than we even imagine. So may we follow John. May we follow Jesus to live in our hearts in peace and to spread that out into the world. May we shine God's light on all those broken